From the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio, this is Marquette Now.
For some, it feels like it hasn't already been a year.
The fact that it's been a year, it feels like not that long ago at all.
Junior Macy Schock had late business dean Joe Daniels her first year at Marquette. On February 11th last year, Daniels was struck and killed by a car on Wisconsin Avenue, in front of Strass Tower, and Marquette hasn't forgotten about him. Interim Dean of the College of Business Administration continues leading with Daniels' vision in mind.
We still miss Joe every day. Joe Daniels had just an amazing impact on this college, and even though he was only the permanent dean for a tragically short period of time, there's so many things he had in his vision that we still try to stay true to today.
The dynamic in Daniels' class stood out to Schock.
In front of everyone, he was like, "I'm sorry, I always pick on you. I just think you remind me so much of my daughter, and I just want you to succeed."
And that sentiment hasn't left her.
When he said that about me, I was like, oh, someone like really is trying to make me a better person and a better student and succeed. And so I kind of took that to heart.
David Krause was close to Daniels. Krause is an associate professor of practice and serves as a director of applied investment management. In an email, Krause writes that Joe Daniels was a true friend and colleague, and I miss him every day. He was an open, caring person who trusted and supported others. Krause also notes that Daniels was committed to business students, putting them first. In Strass Hall, a Cura Personalis banner hangs, representing someone who cares for the whole person. And to Hanley, that's who Joe was.
David Krause was 100% right. I think the building is just one idea of his vision. I think the impression that Joe had is literally of the decades of students that he developed, that he turned into leaders, because Joe himself was a servant leader.
As the university prepares for the new business building on the green space near the Alumni Memorial Union, Hanley continues Daniels' plans for the building.
And a lot of the themes for how we will be operating in the new building are themes that really were Joe's vision. And so in that way, we think about him often. And I think he will have left a legacy. And this amazing new building we'll have will be in many ways a legacy to Joe Daniels' vision.
While Daniels is gone, Teresa Janis, who worked closely with Daniels, believes he's still around.
I believe that he is watching over us and helping guide us. And like I said, his legacy is everlasting. And the short time that he was the official leader of the college, he was a leader throughout his career, though, from whatever seat he sat in. And he's interwoven into the history of Marquette business and Marquette U.
I'm Vanessa Rivera, Marquette Wire News.
The Joe Daniels Memorial Scholarship continues growing in numbers. It was created shortly after Daniels' passing. Right now, there's about $116,000 from about 350 donors. That's roughly $78,000 more than this time last year. Daniels' legacy lives on through the scholarship and those he's impacted, including his wife, Lora Daniels.
Executive News Editor Ben Wells is live in the newsroom speaking to Lora Daniels. Ben?
Thank you, Aspen. Now, good evening, Lora. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Ben. I'm doing well, thank you.
Wonderful. That is so glad. We're so glad to hear, and we're so glad to have you on the show. Now, in this moment, Lora, how are you feeling right now?
Every day since last February the 11th is kind of like Groundhog's Day for me. Every morning I wake up and have to realize that that really happened and that he's not next to me. But I'm plugging along and keeping his memory alive as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. And understandably, that's something none of us could understand, but what has been the hardest part for you since he has passed?
It's the ordinary day to day. He passed a month before the world shut down from COVID. And in a way that gave me a bit of a cushion to continue to just mourn and grieve and be alone with him and my thoughts and memories. And it's been difficult because I wanted to see my kids at Christmas. We wanted to be together, and that was not able to happen. So those kind of things have been difficult, but that's more because of the world as it is right now.
Now, as we reflect back on Joe Daniels and his life, what is a memory for you of Joe that sort of sticks out to you?
I met him in high school. So there are lots of memories and stories. We, in high school, attended dances and basketball games together. And one of his best friends growing up is he and his wife are still our good friends today. We moved to Milwaukee in 1990 after he finished his PhD at Indiana University, and we raised 3 kids here. And so there are stories that I could tell all day about that. But I guess the one memory that I have that I'm holding on to right now is about a week before he died, he had a conference in Nashville, and I tagged along. And he was in back-to-back meetings, and while he was doing that, I was doing some touring of the city, and I sent him a text and asked what time he was going to be done that day, and he was actually on a break and for a couple hours, and I said, oh, well, I heard about a honky tonk in Nashville that plays the old country music that our dads loved. Do you want to meet me? And he did, and we spent the next couple hours just singing along to music from our past and really just having a great time. And he ended up not going back for the reception, and we had a great dinner, and it was just a really, really nice day with the love of my life.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that memory with us. Now, I'm sure that you've been following the circumstances surrounding the accident, just like us at The Wire, and a man was charged not too long ago for Joe's death. How have you been feeling knowing that the case has been progressing?
The district attorney's office and the Milwaukee Police Department have, of course, been keeping me informed as much as possible. They can't tell me everything because they were investigating. So I did know how things were moving along. I'm glad it's progressing. I just pray and am having faith in those same offices, the district attorney's office and the police department, and that justice will be done for Joe.
Right. And now, obviously, Joe has left what will most likely be a permanent legacy on Marquette University. But what do you want Joe to be remembered by?
Well, personally, he was just, I was very blessed. And I'm very grateful that he's the man that I've been married to all these years. He always put me on a pedestal and wanted me to know how much he valued me and the things that I did in our relationship, our marriage, and raising our kids, and just around the house. He was a great father. He was the guy who not only read the bedtime stories, but acted out the characters and did the voices. And he coached his kids in basketball and volleyball as they were growing up. He was just a great dad. And then as for his scholarship and his teaching and the impact that he had on so many students and colleagues, I'm astounded by the number of letters and notes and cards that people reached out to me and wanted me to know their Joe stories. And I don't even think he had an idea of how much he impacted so many people. He truly did live the Marquette motto, a man to be a man for others, or a person for others.
I see. Well, thank you, Lora, so much for coming on tonight. Joe has truly left a legacy here at Marquette. We really appreciate your time for talking about Joe with us. Now back to you, Aspen, in the studio.
We have an update on Marquette's COVID-19 cases. In the past 7 days, there have been 14 additional positive cases. In the past 14 days, there have been 26 cases. Since the start of the academic year, there have been 1,077 COVID-19 positive tests. Marquette is in the moderate alert level.
The Marquette Medical Clinic is experiencing a shortage of COVID-19 vaccines. Due to the extreme weather in the south, the clinic only has enough vaccines for those who need a second dose of Moderna. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services is expanding the populations that are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine on March 1st. The Marquette Clinic was planning to start immunizations for educators, child care workers, and some essential workers. At this time, no further vaccines have been allotted to the medical clinic.
Conditions in Texas are returning back to normal after the state was hit with a large snowstorm last week.
Reporter Kaylee Starl spoke with some of Marquette students from Texas about the strange weather and how it's affected their families and homes.
My family's luckily doing okay. There was a couple scares. We definitely had our pipes freeze. Luckily, my dad is, from Ohio, so he went and grabbed a hair dryer and just started defrosting the pipes.
It'll snow, but it'll last for 3 hours, once every few years. And so this was the weirdest thing to happen in probably 30 years. They haven't seen this in 30 years.
I wish I could have been there so I could have I don't think there was anything for me to do, but at least I can handle the weather, because I think it was teens for them. And I was explaining to one of my friends that what's going on over there would be if the polar vortex that happened 2 years ago, if that happened for 5 days or something like that.
Coming up, we'll take a look at how Marquette is celebrating Black History Month on campus.
And later, we'll take you through the weather happening here in Milwaukee. Stay tuned.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to Marquette Now. I'm Aspen Ramos.
And I'm Sarah Richardson. Students of color on campus are expressing their frustration in a town hall over this weekend.
The Marquette student government held a racial justice and equity town hall to see how they can further support students. Here's how some of the students felt.
It's like we haven't been seen, we haven't been heard. That should not be a question anymore. I feel like that should just not be a question anymore. How can we support y'all? We've told you. We've told you in meetings, we told you in emails, we've told you in protests and sit-ins. We've told you, we've said it time and time again. That should no longer be a question. And this is, we already have to deal with the trauma of whatever occurs, and then having to talk about it time and time again, and having to advocate for ourselves time and time again.
It just feels like higher administration is very not transparent with the students in terms of our progress. The only time I feel like they care about us students of color is if they're gonna post our pictures on the website to show that we have students of color on them.
You know, we as the Black student orgs on campus have repeatedly, commonly had to go into our own pockets to fund our events. These are the events that are usually the most popular here on campus, usually the most renowned and recognized here on campus, the events we throw, you know, the Black students on campus throw.
As we're nearing the end of February, it's time to look back at some of the events that some campus organizations put on to celebrate Black History Month.
Marquette Now's Autumn Hercher met with students involved in this year's Black Student Council fashion show.
How would I describe it? Milwaukee.
Fun,
Black,
breathtaking,
and beautiful.
The Marquette Black Student Council filmed their second annual fashion show this last Sunday, February 21st.
As much as it's about fashion, it's also about highlighting, like, you know, causes that are affecting Black people as well.
This year's show focused on several important topics, like Black love and unity, appreciation for different skin tones and hues, and mass incarceration.
It was really empowering because I didn't realize how much fashion can tell a story and like the impact it can give.
The fashions in the show were all created by Milwaukee designers and modeled by Marquette students.
It was fun because like people already tell me I'm a model, so like I'm photogenic.
The entire show was planned and performed by a close-knit group of 16 individuals.
So it was a very small group who was able to come together and put on a very big show. So I'm very proud of my team. They held it down for me.
Members encourage those interested to tune in when the final video is released this Sunday, February 28th.
It's something for everybody, and it's not just for Black people. Like, it's by Black people to celebrate Black people, but anybody who watch it will feel something from it. And like, it's something that's very powerful. And I think that, you know what I'm saying, everybody got to tune in so they can see the beauty that we produce.
Spring 2021 enrollment statistics have been made available. Accessible on Datamark, enrollment numbers have dropped since the last spring semester by at least 500 students. The undergraduate enrollment for any spring semester is the lowest it's been since at least 2006. Overall enrollment has dropped by roughly 300 students since spring of 2020. Total credit hours have also decreased significantly since last year, dropping by roughly 5,000. This is the lowest since before 2009. Joining us now is Ben Wells with a look at our weather. Ben, we've been experiencing some pretty warm weathers here. Tell us more about it.
I know, it's been absolutely insane. I'm kind of at a loss for words. You know, I'll be honest with all of you, I wore my shorts yesterday. I know, I'll say it. I'm sure that some of you did too. But before we get into the future of our weather, let's look at our temperatures right now. Right now we're sitting at 36 degrees with humidity at about 75%, with a low chance of precipitation barely at 5%, with winds coming out of the northwest at 8 miles per hour. As for the overnight lows across the great state of Wisconsin, it's gonna be cold, so bundle up and stay warm tonight. Over in Superior in the northern parts of Wisconsin, we got 22 degrees. Over by Minocqua, 16 degrees. If we go all the way down to home base down in Milwaukee, we're sitting at 22 degrees. As for tomorrow, though, that's where things start to get a little bit interesting, Marquette. That's right, we're seeing temperatures above freezing, especially if you look right there in Milwaukee. That is 38 degrees, and you don't have to blink twice because that is real, including with some other warmer temperatures over by Madison, La Crosse, and over here by Eau Claire, sitting at 34 degrees respectively. But let's look for tonight. Tonight it's going to be very, very cold. Fortunately, dropping below freezing to 22 miles, or not miles per hour, I apologize, 22 degrees with humidity at 76%, precipitation at only 10%, with winds coming out of the west-northwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's look at tomorrow, though, with that high. Yes, sir, that is 38 degrees. I know, so incredibly warm, right? And we got humidity at 64%, precipitation at 10, and winds coming out of the west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Now let's look at that 5-day forecast, and if you thought tomorrow looked good, you're gonna love this weekend. Check that out. Friday, 38 degrees. Saturday with a high of 43. 43 degrees with a low of 30. Sunday with a chance of snow, but still 38 degrees. And you'll enjoy a sunny Monday with 33 degrees before snow hits us on Tuesday with a high of 34 degrees. That's all I got for you for weather, but stay with us because Ava will be covering with sports.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure
love.
Welcome back. I'm Ava Maris with your Marquette Now Sports Report. Starting with the Marquette men's basketball team, they are currently taking on the University of North Carolina, and they are currently leading. The last time Marquette beat the Tar Heels was in 1977 in the NCAA tournament. Since then, the last time the teams played was in the Sweet 16 in 2011. UNC beat Marquette 81-63 in that game. Marquette's next game will be against UConn this Saturday at 1:30. The Golden Eagles are currently 10-12 overall and 6-10 in the Big East. Turning our attention to the women's basketball team, the Golden Eagles won 85-71 to number 24 DePaul Blue Demons. This is Marquette's 5th straight win, and the season will wrap up next Monday, March 1st, against number 1 UConn at 7 p.m. Central Time. The Golden Eagles are 17-4 overall and 14-3 in the Big East. Turning things over to the women's volleyball, the number 24 ranked Golden Eagles conclude their non-conference matches this week. They will play St. Louis tomorrow and Iowa State on Saturday. The team had plans to wear gold to honor number 4 Sarah Rose in last weekend's matches against Creighton. The matches were postponed due to COVID-19 issues within the Blue Jays program. Marquette Wire's very own Shane Hogan was able to catch up with Rose and the possibility of her being back with her teammates.
Sometimes life hands you something you're least expecting.
It's never something you really expect to hear or really want to hear, that you have cancer.
Sarah Rose, a senior on the Marquette volleyball team, was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a strain of pediatric cancer, back in September. When Rose heard the news, the emotions came pouring in.
Initially, I was just really heartbroken. I didn't honestly know what to think at the beginning. A lot of things were racing through my mind about volleyball, school, life, everything.
In an effort to support and honor Rose, Marquette Athletics is participating in a campaign titled #GoldForSarah, where all Marquette teams are wearing gold jerseys and shoelaces during their games this week.
You gave us amazing inspiration tonight, and we thank you for it. And
thank you so much.
We tried to honor your fight with our fight tonight. So thanks for being a role model for all of us.
Rose reflected on what support from her opponent would have meant to her.
To me, it feels like they see me more as like a person instead of just a competitor and a player on the other side of the net, and that they're supporting me and not just like playing against Marquette. It's a bigger goal and a bigger picture.
In trying times like these, finding inspiration might not be easy, but Rose continues to inspire her teammates and vice versa.
Really inspires me to keep pushing and keep fighting, and they always send such kind words of encouragement and are always checking in on me, see how I'm doing. I couldn't ask for a better support system than my teammates. They really do care about me so much.
Rose has already completed 5 months of chemotherapy, and her long-term prognosis looks encouraging. Shane Hogan, Marquette Wire Sports.
Now that's it for sports, but don't go anywhere. Marquette Now will be right back with our Down to the Wire segment.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now anything but lonely.
We have this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
We discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things,
But they're all pure love.
Welcome back. I'm Aspen Ramos.
And I'm Sarah Richardson. Marquette Wire Executive News Editor Ben Wells joins us now for tonight's edition of Down to the Wire.
He's with Assistant News Editor Megan Woolard to talk about the recent outbreak of norovirus on campus. Ben?
Thank you so much, Aspen. And I am here with Megan Woolard. How are you doing, Megan?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again, Ben.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you on. And tonight we'll be talking about the norovirus that is currently afflicting some residence halls on campus. Now, we sort of already went over what norovirus is and where it is on campus, but I want to know, what should students do if they think that they might have the norovirus? What are the necessary steps they have to take?
Yeah, so it's going to be kind of similar to the university's COVID-19 protocols. They're going to want you to call the medical clinic and talk with the nurse on call, explain your symptoms, and they do want you to isolate because it is very contagious, so we don't want that to spread any further than it already has.
Sure, that does make sense. We should treat this sort of like coronavirus because we don't need 2 viruses spreading around campus, right?
Correct.
Now, currently, what procedures are being taken by the university or staff with inside residence halls in order to keep all of us safe from norovirus?
Yeah, so the Milwaukee Health Department and Marquette Dining, they've investigated all of the dining and food preparation areas and disinfected that to make sure that there's no further spread if something were to happen there. In addition, they're kind of disinfecting common spaces throughout the dorms, throughout the dining halls, and the residence halls that have so far been affected.
Interesting. And you said you talked to somebody who said that they did have norovirus in your article, correct?
Yeah, I talked to a few people that got sick.
Interesting. Did they say it was a bad time, or did they recover in time?
It was a really bad 12 to 15 hours is kind of what I heard, but they came back to 100% pretty fast.
Oh, that's good to hear. That is all the time that we have for tonight. Thank you so much, Megan. I'll throw it back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Ben and Megan. Well, that's all we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Aspen Ramos.
And I'm Sarah Richardson. Remember to check marquettewire.org for all the latest campus news. Good night, Marquette.